Hey friends, Arthur here. Welcome back to the channel. Get this, the typical homeowner in America has a net worth of about $396,000. The typical renter, just over $10,000. That means homeowners are nearly 40 times wealthier. It's a staggering gap, and it's getting wider. For millions, it feels like running on a treadmill where someone else is setting the speed your rent just keeps climbing, while your savings account stays stubbornly on empty. You're paying your landlord's mortgage, funding their retirement, and building their wealth, while yours goes nowhere. So, how did we get here? Is the whole system designed to keep you broke? Today, we're diving deep into the rent trap. We'll expose the hidden mechanics that are making landlords richer and renters poorer, and explore why escaping this cycle feels next to impossible. Let's get into it. Part 1. The Great Disconnect. So, you're not imagining it? That feeling of being squeezed, and just in your head it's a brutal mathematical reality. Since 1985, the median rent in America has shot up by a staggering 208%. But here's the kicker. Over that same period, median household income has only crawled upwards, failing to keep pace. Think about that. For decades, the cost of the single biggest item in your budget has been on a rocket ship, while your paycheck has been taking the stairs. This isn't normal inflation. This is a fundamental disconnect in our economy. Let's put it another way. Imagine in the 80s, your salary and your rent started a race at the same starting line. Today, your salary has finished a marathon. Your rent, it's completed an ultramarathon, lapped you several times, and is already sipping a cocktail at the finish line. The government's own numbers tell the story. The Consumer Price Index, the official tracker for inflation, shows that the cost of shelter has consistently outpaced almost everything else. In fact, from 2001 to 2022, the median rent increased by 21%, adjusting for inflation. And what did the median renter's income do in that same period? It went up by a measly 2%. That's not a gap, that's a canyon. It's the difference between saving for a future and just barely surviving the present. This isn't an accident. While technology has made things like TVs and computers cheaper to produce, you can't exactly code more land into existence in downtown Austin or San Jose. Demand for housing keeps growing, but the supply of desirable places to live doesn't. This scarcity gives landlords incredible pricing power. They're not just charging you for drywall and a faucet, they're charging you for access. Access to jobs, to schools, to a life. And as long as you need that access, they can keep raising the price. So, when you feel like you're working harder but getting poorer, you're right. Your paycheck is playing by the old rules of slow and steady growth, while your landlord is playing a completely different, high-speed game, and they're winning big time. Part 2. The Housing Hunger Games. So, why are you paying a king's ransom for a shoebox apartment? It boils down to one simple, brutal fact: we are in the middle of a severe housing shortage. We're talking a nationwide deficit of millions of homes. It's like a game of musical chairs where, every year, more people show up, but the number of chairs stays the same. The result? A desperate scramble where landlords can charge whatever they want. So, how did we get here? It wasn't an accident. A huge part of the problem is something called restrictive zoning. For decades, cities have passed laws that make it incredibly difficult, and sometimes illegal, to build anything other than single-family homes. Think of it like this: your city has a huge parking lot, but the law says you can only park one giant RV in it, instead of 100 compact cars. That's zoning. These laws often dictate massive minimum lot sizes, limit building heights, and ban the construction of duplexes or small apartment buildings in most residential areas. These rules artificially choke the supply of new housing, especially affordable options. It's a system that effectively preserves the character of a neighborhood by making it impossible for anyone who isn't already wealthy to move in. This isn't just bad policy, it's a gate. A very expensive, legally enforced gate. Then there's the not in my backyard crowd, or NIMBEs. These are folks who, while agreeing we need more housing, will fight tooth and nail to prevent it from being built anywhere near them. They show up to city council meetings with complaints about traffic, property values, or neighborhood character, often just code for not wanting renters or lower-income families around. Their opposition can delay or kill projects outright, further tightening the housing supply noose. On top of the red tape, the cost to actually build anything has exploded. Since the pandemic, the price of building materials has shot up by over 40%. Add to that a massive shortage of skilled construction workers, and you've got a recipe for sky-high development costs. So, if you're a developer facing these insane costs, what do? You don't build a modest starter home. You build a luxury condo. Why? The profit margins are way bigger. It has simple math. The cost of land and regulations is a huge chunk of the final price, around 24% for a single-family home. Whether building a small, affordable unit or a sprawling penthouse, those fixed costs are similar. So, developers focus on the high-end market where they can easily absorb those expenses and make a hefty profit. The result is a flood of luxury apartments with rooftop pools, while the supply of basic, affordable housing dries up completely. This creates a vicious cycle. The severe shortage of all types of housing, especially at the lower and middle end, pits renter against renter in a bidding war. Landlords hold all the cards. They know that for every person who can't afford their ridiculous rent increase, there are 10 others waiting in line, desperate for a place to live. It's the housing Hunger Games, and the odds are never in your favor. Part 3. Your landlord is a corporation. So, if you think your landlord is just some guy named Dave puttering around in the basement, you might want to check again. There's a growing chance your rent check ain't going to a person at all, but to a faceless private equity firm on Wall Street. Private equity firms now own nearly 3 million apartment units in the U.S. That's about 1 out of every 8 apartments in the entire country. And they bought up nearly half of those just since 2021. This isn't a small shift, it's a hostile takeover of the housing market. See, a small, local landlord might want to make a profit, but they also have to live in the same community. They have a reputation to uphold. A massive corporation, their only goal is to deliver the highest possible return to their shareholders, period. You are not a tenant, you are a line item on a spreadsheet. An asset to be squeezed for maximum yield. How do they do it? First, they remove the human element. Instead of a person setting the rent, many now use powerful software that scrapes data from competitors to calculate the absolute maximum price the market will bear. One infamous program, called youre, was created by a company called RealPage. The software's own creator bragged that it helps landlords outperform the market by 3 to 7%. One property manager even admitted, "Very few of us would be willing to actually raise rents double digits within a single month by doing it manually." The software gives them cover to do what a human being would feel guilty about. The Department of Justice even sued RealPage, accusing them of helping landlords illegally collude to inflate rents across the country. It's an automated system for price fixing that leaves you with zero room to negotiate. Then comes the death by 1,000 cuts, the fees. Corporate landlords have perfected the art of the junk fee. We read talking mandatory monthly charges for valet trash, pest control, smart home technology, and even a convenience fee just to pay your rent online. These aren't optional, they're baked into the lease. The country's largest single-family landlord, Invitation Homes, was hit with FTC action for allegedly deceiving renters with these kinds of junk fees, which could add over $1,700 a year to a tenant's costs. In one internal email, their CEO even told an executive to juice this hog by making a smart home fee mandatory. That's what you are to them. A hog to be juiced. This business model is brutally effective. It transfers wealth directly from your pocket to their shareholders. You're not paying for housing anymore, you're paying to service an investment. And because these corporations own so many units, they can dictate the market, ensuring that if you don't like it, the next person in line, desperate for housing, has no choice but to pay up. Part 4. Leverage, the landlord's superpower. So, we've seen how corporate landlords squeeze you with software and fees. But that's just the appetizer. The main course, the real secret to how they get fantastically rich off your back, is a concept that Wall Street loves: leverage. Let's break it down. Say your landlord buys a duplex for $500,000. You think they shelled out $500,000. Not even close. For an investment property, they might only put down 20%, which is $100,000. So, where does the other $400,000 come from? The bank, of course. It's a mortgage. But here's the kicker: the landlord doesn't actually pay the mortgage. You do. Your monthly rent check is a money-making machine for them. It's engineered to cover the landlord's entire mortgage payment, their property taxes, their insurance, and a fund for repairs. After all of that is paid, there's still profit left over for their pocket. The magic happens for them, and the trap springs for you. Every time you pay rent, you are reducing your landlord's loan balance. You are literally buying the building for them. Their debt goes down, and their ownership, their equity goes up. And what do you get for your money? A roof over your head, yes. But financially, absolutely nothing. Zero. You build no equity. Your payment is a 100% expense. It vanishes into thin air. Picture it, on one side of a split screen, the landlord's net worth steadily climbs every single month, with the equity in their building going up, paid for by you. On your side of the screen, your bank account gets drained by that same amount, building wealth for somebody else. But that's not even the superpower part. The landlord also gets 100% of the benefit when the property's value goes up, a process called appreciation. they get the appreciation on the entire $500,000 property, not just the $100,000 they actually invested. Let us do some quick, painful math. If that $500,000 property appreciates by a modest 5%, its value increases by $25,000. For the landlord, who only put in $100,000 of their own money, that's a 25% return on their investment in 1 year, from appreciation alone. A 25% return on an asset you paid for. So let's recap the landlord's wealth formula. Step 1. Use the bank's money to buy an asset. Step 2. Get your tenant to pay back the bank. Step 3. Pocket the leftover cash flow. Step 4. Get a massive return when the whole asset's value goes up. It's a financial cheat code. Oh, but the system isn't done helping them. The government then hands them a cherry on top in the form of massive tax breaks. They can deduct the interest on the mortgage, the loan you're repaying off for them. They deduct property taxes and almost every operating cost imaginable. But here's the most absurd part. It's called depreciation. The tax code lets landlords deduct a portion of their property's cost each year for wear and tear, even while the actual market value is skyrocketing. It's a non-cash deduction that can wipe out their taxable rental income, letting them collect your checks while legally reporting a loss to the IRS. So, you pay tax on every dollar you earn, while your landlord could be earning that same money, tax-free. This is the engine of the rent trap. Leverage allows investors to buy more properties, further tightening the housing supply. Your rent doesn't just pay their mortgage, it fuels the expansion of their real estate empire, making housing even more expensive for everyone else. They're not just playing a different game, they're using a superpower handed to them by the financial system. While you're left trying to climb a ladder with no rungs. You're not just renting a home. You are servicing an investment vehicle that is actively driving you further away from ever owning one yourself. Part 5. Is there any way out? So after all that, are we just doomed to rent forever, pouring our hard-earned money into a black hole that makes someone else rich? Is there any way out of this trap? It can feel hopeless, but the answer is a qualified yes. The rules of this game were written by people, and they can be rewritten. Some places are already trying. First, let's talk about the rulebook itself. Local laws. For decades, cities have been frozen in amber by something called single-family zoning. These laws make it illegal to build anything other than one house on a huge chunk of land. The result? Not enough homes to go around, which is a jackpot for landlords. But some cities are ripping up those pages. In 2018, Minneapolis became the first major U.S. city to abolish single-family zoning, allowing duplexes and triplexes in every neighborhood. The idea is simple. More supply helps ease the pressure on prices. It's not an overnight fix, but one study found the reform helped slow the growth of rents compared to similar cities. Then there's the fight against the death by 1,000 cuts, junk fees. The White House has recently started cracking down, pushing for states and even rental websites like Zillow and Apartments to force landlords to disclose every single fee up front. No more surprise valet trash charges when you are perfectly capable of walking to the dumpster yourself. And what about getting kicked out for no reason? A growing number of states and cities are passing just cause eviction laws. This means a landlord can't just decide they don't like your face and terminate your lease. They need a legitimate reason, like not paying rent or damaging the property. It's a simple shift that gives tenants a basic level of stability. But policy tweaks are just one piece of the puzzle. What if we could change the ownership model itself? Enter ideas that take the profit motive out of the equation. One is called a Community Land Trust, or CLT. It's a non-profit that owns the land, but you can own the house on top of it. This brilliantly separates the house from the speculative land market. You buy the home at an affordable price, and if you sell it at a restricted price to another lower-income family. The public subsidy that made the home affordable stays with the home forever, instead of getting cashed out by the first owner. Then there's the more radical idea that America has been allergic to for decades: building high-quality public housing. I'm not talking about the neglected, underfunded projects you see in old movies. I'm talking about the Vienna model. In Vienna, Austria, around half the population lives in subsidized, high-quality housing. And because there's so much of it, it forces the private market to keep rents low to compete. It's a system designed for housing people, not just generating returns for investors. Look, none of these are silver bullets. Escaping the rent trap requires a massive shift in how we think about housing, from a financial asset to a fundamental human right. It means fighting for new laws, new models, and a new mindset. It's a long, uphill battle against a system that's made a lot of people very, very rich. But knowing how the trap is built is the first step to dismantling it. If this video helped you see the matrix, consider hitting that like button. And if you want to keep exploring how these systems really work, subscribe so you don't miss the next time we lift the curtain. Stay curious, friends.